everybody, and welcome to Two Show Day. I'm your host, Diana Shabai Booker, and I am so excited about today's guest. He is the artistic director at the Schenectady Light Opera Company. He is the drama director at Scotia Glenville High School, and on top of all that, he also has like a real day job and a dog and like real responsibilities too. So please welcome Michael Camelo.
Hi, thanks
Michael.
for having me.
Like I said, I'm so excited. I feel like I got a good get this week.
I am really excited. I don't know if I'm going to be the best get or a good get, but I will definitely try. No, I'm really excited. And I love that you're doing this. I think this podcast is so important. And we have so much theater in this area. And
we really do.
This is like the perfect way to talk about it and bring people on and get different perspectives. I love it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about you. So you were very busy with all of these things. How did this start? How did you get involved in theater in the first place?
I think it's hilarious. It actually started for me in high school because my sister did drama and she was in a show. And I went and saw it. It was called Hello, Dolly. And I went and saw it and I fell in love with the show. But I was always like, I don't know if I want to do it. But I fell in love with theater at that point. And then the next year, they did South Pacific and she auditioned and I got told if I wanted to do any extracurricular activity, I had to do the same thing with my sister so that I could get picked up at the same time. You know, parents. And so I auditioned and I cried midway through my first audition and walked off the stage and said, well, that's it. I'm never going to do theater again. I still got cast because it was high school and they cast me. And then the rest is history. I just kept doing shows after that. So yeah.
That's amazing. They said he has range. He has the emotional.
Look at that depth of crying on stage. He just cried right on cue. I off cue really, because I was like in the middle of like Bloody Mary is the girl and I just started crying. I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again.
God. That's incredible. So how did you sort of get into the like directing or producing side of it from acting? Yeah,
so I did all of the acting. I really enjoyed it. And then during that time, though, I also was like a student producer because I was really interested in the business. And, you know, I have my degrees in business. That's what I work on all day. And so I was really just fascinated with it. And then I went to school for arts management and theater, and I started directing in college.
Okay.
And when I started directing in college, it's like, oh, this is so interesting. I really like it. And then I came back to the area and just started directing more. And then at that time, when I came back to the area, my high school drama director, she retired. Okay. And the school reached out to me and said, hey, we have an opening, you know, for her role. We're looking to hire outside the district probably. Do you, because no faculty was interested at that time, do you want to interview? And the music director, who's my music director and is still my music director there, Jess Creasy, she was like, she put in a really good word for me. She's like, you have to hire him. He's great. And so I just started doing the high school and now I just have been directing everywhere and doing that.
Wow. What, do you have a preference of what you like doing more? I know you still sort of do both.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't direct anymore really that much. I artistic direct, which is great because I can be involved, but you don't have to have all of the stress of having the entire show on you.
Sure.
I directed the high school because that's still educational and it's where I found theater, where I literally the same stage that I cried on at my first audition is now the stage that I direct.
Oh, I love that.
And so I don't want to give that up right now. But other than that, I feel like I've kind of stepped back from directing. Except I am music directing Dreamgirls at SLOC next season with an amazing team. So I'm excited about that. But I think the directing side I'm good with for a little bit. Yeah. But the acting I've started to get back into. And it was weird because post-COVID, I was the other way. I didn't want to act anymore. I just wasn't finding it's like not worth my time, but like I just was so self-conscious and in my head about it all. Sure. And I think people don't get that even in this area when you act, like it's hard sometimes. Like you get a review or you get the comments or even your friends who come and see it that do theater. Yeah. And it can sometimes take a toll on you mentally, whether you realize or not. And so I took a step back from it But now I'm back doing it because I just get to do it with friends and I have a good time. And like I said, there's so much theater in the area and everyone is really supportive that I fell in love with it again.
Yeah, absolutely. No, directing is very hard. I've done it once because a lot of people, I stage manage primarily. That's my bag. And so a lot of people ask me, it's like, oh, do you ever want to direct? And I said, I did it once and that's enough.
I find that so funny because you are like the best stage manager. You are so amazing. You have everything. You know where everything's supposed to go, and then you also think about the show and like all the complexities in it. And I'm like, that's a director. Like that is a director.
I found it so hard to make. Well, first of all, I sort of felt like a good director handles this well, but I sort of felt like a kindergarten teacher. Like everybody comes to you with questions and you have to know the answer right away all the time. And I feel like I'm not good at the creative decisions part of it, right? Like if someone else tells you where you need to go, I will write that down and tell you where you need to go. But I don't want to be the one to put that path in place.
I think that's so funny because I think that you're more of a kindergarten teacher when you are a stage manager. Because you are literally like, you missed your entrance. That line is not right. And you were 5 minutes late to rehearsal today. And so you were literally like checking everything.
Oh my God.
So, I would encourage you to get back to directing maybe and try it out again.
I really encourage everybody to do it once though, because you get such a good perspective on all of the moving parts and how they all work together. And, it's sort of, it helps you find a good director and find people that you want to work with.
Absolutely.
Because they're the ones that have that whole perspective. Yeah.
And I always find that the best director is somebody who's collaborative. The person who brings on a team that wants to work together and do it and listen and work. I think that is always the best director. And, a stage manager a lot of times has to do that.
Yeah.
So I see those qualities together. But I think everyone should direct. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Everyone should direct at least once.
Yes.
Try it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, now you know you don't like it.
You don't like it. It's
but
fine.
Yeah, you have that respect of what makes a good director.
Exactly.
Yes. So let's talk about what an artistic director does for those that may not know.
I don't know. I have no idea. No, I'm kidding.
Other duties as assigned, and that's all of it. Yeah.
Literally, well, I think it's so fascinating because when you think about an artistic director, there's so many different facets of being an artistic director. And it's the same thing with a director. When you're a director, directing community, high school, college, professional, semi-professional, whatever you want to call it, they're all different.
Yeah.
And being a director is very different in all those fields. And people who have gone and done them in multiple places, they will tell you that. Like, it's always very different. And then even in community, directing in one theater versus another theater, extremely different experiences, extremely different processes.
Yeah.
So I think with an artistic director, it's the same thing. Most times people think of an artistic director as very much like an administrator or somebody who's there artistically to make sure that the productions are at the quality that they need, but are also there to, be the voice or reason of the person that's kind of overseeing the production. I think how I embrace it at SLOC is that I think I'm there because I'm there to help the directors. I'm there to make sure that the directors have their team to help make the vision happen. I'm there to make sure that they understand that the theater is there to support them, that we, in a way, hired them to do the show, and that we trust them, but we also have certain things or certain policies or certain requirements because we've done this now. SLOC is celebrating its 99th season, so we're going to get onto our 100th season, and we have a lot of history and a lot of things that we've done in the past that work or don't work, and so we sometimes come in to give guidance, but I also am there to support directors because if we don't challenge and grow and try new things, then we aren't going to continue to celebrate new seasons. So I'm always like, how do I collaborate with you? How do I support? So I think as an artistic director, it really is all of those roles and maybe a little bit of therapy as well.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes therapy for me as the artistic director to the director, but no, it really is. It's supposed to be there to help produce the shows and the quality and keep us, our seasons together and wanting our patrons to come back. But it's also supposed to be there to make this an inviting and welcoming space for everybody to want to come and do theater in. And that's kind of how I take that role.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I met on my first SLOC show, which was The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged.
Yes.
And it was very funny. I remember you being there a lot of the time, and I felt very supported by you and by our board liaison, who I believe was Elizabeth Sherwood Mack, who was wonderful. And then on my next Slock production on Spring Awakening, I was like, oh, Michael's not here as much. And so it very much depends on the production and sort of, Shakespeare was a lot of Slock newcomers too, I think, who may not have known how things worked and needed a little bit more guidance. But I think it does vary production to production.
Absolutely does. Yeah. And I also think it varies not just by the production, but it also varies by the team. Some teams, they are just so cohesive and they work so well that they just run and they have fun and it's great. And so I don't like to show up that much in that time, because I feel like no matter how many times I say it, when I walk into the room, everyone's like, oh, he's here to watch us, or he's here to make and it's hard because sometimes, I am there to watch and to bring in feedback or anything like that. So I don't like to disrupt that process, because I think about when I'm a director and I am an artistic director showing up, no matter what, I always feel that way too. And so I'm very mindful of that. Like if I show up, there's a purpose for why I'm showing up, or I'm just stopping in to make sure that they know that the support is there. But it varies. I think it's so funny that Complete Works, that was the first show where I met you.
Yeah.
I just directed that at my high school because of the production. And definitely used some of that from the show. As like, oh, this is inspiration to help make it work. But no, it's every show is different.
Yeah, absolutely. You also have a hand in, or at least a hand in, organizing the season too. Yeah. How does that process work?
So again, everybody's different, but how we kind of do is I actually have a committee. So I form a committee, and my vow to Slock is, it's sort of everywhere, I think, needs to do this a little bit more, but every theater in the area, even though we're all supportive of each other, tends to have like their circle of people who do shows in that theater.
Yep.
And Slock is no different. And you always, when you are one of the only places that does constant musical theater, it's one of the areas that you can go to do it. You get a lot of feedback of people saying, oh, it's a clique, or it's not as inclusive. Or so when I took on the committee, I made it very clear that I wanted anybody who was on the committee to only serve 1 year, and then the next year it had to be somebody else. It doesn't mean that you couldn't come back or consult or give feedback, but it's really that we keep getting different perspectives in there, because from that you get different seasons and different perspectives of like what works or what doesn't, or what can we try. And so my job as an artistic director in that is to, one, get a season that I know is going to sell well, it's going to work on our stage, it's going to, appeal to our audiences. But then two, make sure that who I'm putting in the committee to make these decisions, they feel empowered to have a voice and to bring their perspectives into it. Yeah. And I've been very lucky in the last 2 seasons that I've put together of having really great committees who have put together wonderful slates. But that also comes from my other job, which is to go out and ask directors to submit. And I think it's hard sometimes, because when people think someone's coming to ask me to do something, it means I'm guaranteed to get it.
Sure.
And I try not to do that. It's not about me saying, I want you to have the show, I'm going to give you this show. It's about them, I wanting them to know that they have the opportunity, and I want to see them put their name out there. And I want to see them, have a chance to share their vision of something. And we have been supporting that for a long time, but like this season that we're currently in, it was mostly new directors, first-time directors, or return directors who haven't directed in years. Yeah. And it was really inspiring to see. And then it just happened to be all female directors too, which was super cool. But that just happened because the committee came together, and that's how it went. And next season we have some new directors as well, but we have returning directors. And I love it. I think every season's something different, and putting the season together is probably the best fun I have, but it's also the most stress as artistic director.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there's that balance of, wanting to work with people that you trust, but also trying to bring in new talent, which also brings in, if you have someone who's done theater somewhere else or hasn't done it before, they bring in this new audience of people with them too. Yeah. That's totally part of it. Yeah. But it's also the shows you want. People like going to see things that they know, but you also want to do new works too. Yeah. And I think this season is a great example of that. You have returning directors, you have people who have worked with SLOC before, but not in a directing role before. You have new shows, you have classics. It's a great season. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of it.
We love that you're a part of it. No, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I don't take really any of the credit. That's, again, the team that came together and the directors who submitted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the 99 season. I'm excited for the 100th season. I am excited for every season coming up because I think theater has definitely evolved in the last few years, and people are doing some of the classics, but also taking risks. And we're doing some things that maybe are unknown.
Yes.
But the one thing that I, don't know if it's coming along as fast is that the audiences, are they evolving as fast as like the creators want to do?
Sure.
Because we have directors who submit shows that sometimes it's really hard to pick or choose from because we also have to sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to sell our seasons. We have, 3 buildings that we have to pay for. And, it's a big endeavor to do. And so in order to support that, we have to sell. And the only way we do that is by producing shows that people want to see.
Yep.
And I think you know this better than I. That's sometimes really hard to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you want to, I feel like this was sort of the case with Spring Awakening. Like the content in it is not for everybody. No. Absolutely. And you have to walk that line of not only warning people what it's about, but keeping the story a secret, and also oh my God, what was I going to say? I do this all the time. I forget, and then Mike just cuts it out, and it sounds fine.
I kind of like it though.
Or he doesn't, and it stays in.
I think you should absolutely leave that in, because this is live theater, people. Okay, right here, you go up on a line, and then you look at the person that you're in the scene with and go, "Save me." I have no idea. I can't do that. I'm so sorry.
What was I talking about? I think we had a lot of newcomers. We had a balance of newcomers and returning with Spring, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's not Mamma Mia. You don't know what you're getting into necessarily when you buy that ticket unless you know what that story is. And sometimes you really rely on that word of mouth. And I think that's what happened with Spring. We had a really full second weekend, I think, because word got out and we had great reviews and stuff like that.
It happens with a lot of shows. I mean, I recently just did Falsettos at SLOC.
It's wonderful.
And love that show. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that show, but it is not an easy sell sometimes. And, it's all sung through.
Yep.
But it's also complex. It's complex issues, and a hard time in history. And also, I don't know if people want to necessarily come sit in the theater and cry at the end of the day. And that's kind of like Spring Awakening, hard subjects and, things that can be triggering to people. And I think we have to do that theater, but it's also hard sometimes because the world right now is just so chaotic that you go to theater to escape. And then if you're hit with all of the reality of theater as well, or all the reality of the subject matter, which are extremely important to talk about, it can be hard for audiences to want to do. So I think it's funny that I'm seeing now, you see it on Broadway happening a lot more now. They still have some of the heavy stuff, but a lot of fluffier shows are coming back. I say fluffy in a really endearing way.
Yeah.
I love Mamma Mia. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, of course.
I love Mamma Mia. And it's coming back to Broadway.
Right.
It's just kind of
When
funny.
I saw that announcement, I was like, oh, really? A Mamma Mia revival? But I was like, if not now, when?
Right.
Now is the time for Mamma Mia.
We need Mamma Mia right now. I need to escape. I need Sophie to find her 3 dads. Sorry, spoiler alert. Yeah. But no, it's just I want some fluff in my life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. I feel that way just about life right now too. That's why I'm doing this podcast. There's a lot of terrible things in the world that of course should be acknowledged and taken action on, but also at the same time, art is also happening, and this community needs to band together, and I want to broadcast all the wonderful things people are doing, so that's why we're here.
Well, thank you for bringing a little love and theater and art back into the world. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything right now that you'd like to talk about?
So right now, I am directing The Addams Family at Scotia Glenville High School.
Yeah.
And we open next weekend, so April 3rd through the 5th, I think it is. And so, that's the show we're doing now that I'm working on. And then after that, I might be auditioning for a show, thinking about it. But other than that, just being artistic director at SLOC and getting ready for the next season and taking a little time off because I was going back to back to back for a while.
You were busy.
I literally was doing Gypsy, while doing my high school show, which last year we did Rent. So we did Rent, and then Gypsy. Then I went right into
Footloose.
Yeah. Right? Went right into Footloose. And then came back to Slock, did my high school show, Complete Works, and then right into that I did Falsettos.
Wow. Yeah.
And now Addams Family. So I'm like kind of ready for just a small little break, but also know that I said that on camera and on a podcast, and I will definitely be like eating my words.
We will
soon
review
on
this
that.
tape.
Yep. I knew it. Exhibit A. You said you were going to take a break and you didn't.
No.
No complaining. But yeah.
Now you're hospitalized for exhaustion. Great.
Oh, please no. No, but yeah. Yeah, I get it.
That's exciting. Well, let's get into it. So we have 2 shows picked out. Neither of us prepared for anything. So we're just going to...
Blow up my spot. Did not. That's good.
Would you like to kick it off?
Sure. So do we just talk about the 2 shows right away? Or do we
Usually we do one then the other, but...
I'm just going to mix it up on you.
Great. Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
They go together.
Well, we already talked about Gypsy, so let's talk about Gypsy.
Let's talk about Gypsy.
Let's talk about Gypsy.
All right.
So yeah.
Who wrote it? When did it premiere?
Well, okay. So now, see, you're putting me all on the spot on all of the stuff that I don't have prepared. But I did want to talk about the fact that I think it's really funny that Gypsy... So people don't realize that Stephen Sondheim wrote the lyrics to Gypsy.
He did.
And what people I don't think also know is that he actually was asked to be the composer first. And this was after he worked on West Side Story.
Yep.
And so he was supposed to do it, and then a unknown actress named Ethel Merman.
So nobody lost to history. Yeah.
No, it was Ethel Merman. She didn't want an unknown composer, in her words, to do the show. So Stephen Sondheim was asked not to compose. Julie Stein, I believe, composed it. And then instead, he did the lyrics. And he actually wasn't going to do the lyrics, and then got talked into doing the lyrics. And so he did the lyrics for the show. And I didn't realize that until I did Gypsy. So
Oh, really?
I have listened to Gypsy. I'd known, but I didn't know that until I did Gypsy. And then I was like, Stephen Sondheim wrote the lyrics to the show? Like, what? So I think it's crazy to think about. But Gypsy has had so many revivals that I couldn't actually tell you when it originated on Broadway or when it opened. Do you know that?
I want to say it was 59. I think West Side Story was 55, and then Gypsy was 59.
But I do know that it's just had so many revivals, and it's had so many amazing people in the role.
Yeah.
And now it's back on Broadway with a whole new twist with Audra McDonald. I mean,
So many, like, the divas of history have been Rose, right? Ethel Merman, Angela Lansbury, Tyne Daly, Bernadette Peters, Patty, Audra. I'm missing
Imelda. She did it in London.
Imelda. Bette Midler was in the movie.
Yep, Bette Midler was in the movie.
Yeah, like
so many. And like you think about that list and you're like, what do all of these actresses or actors have in common? You're like, they've all killed it in this role. And this role is a hard role.
Yes.
I didn't get to play Rose. I tried, but my counterpart, Corey, who also was Dolly in the first version of Hello, Dolly that made me fall in love with theater. She played my Rose. I played
she
Herbie.
was wonderful. Yes.
And so I think that was like a full circle moment. The person that I saw on theater playing Dolly Levi that made me fall in love with theater, her and I just did a show together where she played my love interest, and I got to watch her belt her face off every night. That role, though, is excruciating, and watching people go through it, I don't think enough people realize how much preparation and like thought has to go into doing a role like that.
Yeah.
And people do this as a full-time job, like on Broadway.
Yeah.
So like the fact that Audra's doing it and she's doing it so well, and like everyone else has done this, and that's just talent. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's referred to as the King Lear for women. It's like that kind of epic role.
It is so epic.
Yeah, it's challenging vocally, and just the journey she has to go through, and like have a breakdown at the end. Like,
well, and it's not just a breakdown. It's a very like cathartic moment for people who have ever had a dream so bad in their life that they want, and then they have to realize it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what she does. And I think for people to get that, like, I think it might mean a little bit more in community theater, because some people that this was their passion, or they wanted to try it and it didn't work out for whatever reason. A lot of times it's not just about talent, it's about location or luck or where you are. or the resources you have. So they do it in Community to still have that passion. But can you imagine doing that show and like feeling that way too of like, oh God, I want to do this so bad.
Right.
And, you know, so I think on Broadway, you get that from the perspective, you get to go through that journey, but you're on Broadway doing it.
Right. There's a different.
I think
it's on
about it
different
sometimes
levels,
about that, you know, and watching that role. Because I think I associated myself a little bit with Rose when I did Gypsy. I don't know. It's so weird to think about and to like psychoanalyze the show. And,
I know.
and
That's such an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
So let's hit some of the story beats of Gypsy for people who might not be familiar. So it's, I think they say inspired by the memoirs of Gypsy Rose Lee.
Yes.
Who was a famous burlesque artist.
The first major burlesque artist. Like
Very
the first,
cool.
like she brought kind of
like
what
a
burlesque
name.
was. In her version of burlesque. It wasn't just about being a stripper. It was about an art form and creating this art. And she was told very early on in life that she would never achieve anything, that she was just kind of second fiddle to June, who Mama Rose was trying to make a star.
Yeah. Rose has two daughters. She has June and Louise. She starts off as.
Right.
And they're sort of touring the vaudeville circuit.
Yep.
With June as the star and Louise is in the cow costume. Mamoo.
Yep. Moo. One of my favorite parts of the show. I wanted to be in that cow costume so bad.
Man.
I got told no. So off stage, I would moo with the cow. Moo. Like every night.
The chorus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this is sort of their life, and Rose is trying to make ends meet. They buy cheap food all the time, and they share this hotel room, and Rose lies to the kids about how old they are. Louise has this sad song about how it's her birthday, and she is wondering how old she is when she's clearly a young woman.
Yes.
And she's like, "You're 12.
Yep.
Shut up.
You will always be 12. When an
Yeah.
agent asks, you're 12. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And then it sort of really kicks into high gear as it's sort of the end of the first act when June, they are young women, young adults at this point, and June runs off with one of the dancers, Tulsa, to get married, and Rose says, "All right, kid, this is your time."
You're next.
Yeah,
You're
and
next.
we get Everything's Coming Up Roses, which is
And I'm just
amazing.
gonna say something
Yeah.
because this is what happens when you talk about the show. Not once did you mention Herbie in any of that, but he was there the
know.
entire time.
He was.
Is that fascinating? I think about this, and I'm not calling you out like to blow up your spot.
Right.
I play Herbie, and I was like, I would have gave that same synopsis. That's how I would have done it, because that's the part and the beautiful part about how Herbie was written. Herbie was written because Herbie is based off of a real, true character. A true person who was there to kind of was a little bit manipulated by Rose in a way to help get them to the next stage to make them get to the Orpheum circuit out of vaudeville. Well, in vaudeville, but like the bigger time.
Right.
And how he got strung along was that, Rose always said that, she loved him and she planned on marrying him and they were going to have. So this all happens during Act 1 the entire time. And he's just there. Even during Everything's Coming Up Roses, Herbie is in the scene.
Right.
But is
Just, like,
completely
witnessing.
ignored the entire time because she's going after Luis and being like, I'm going to make you a star.
Yeah.
And he's just there. And I think that there's something amazing about how that's written to be like, he was there the whole time, but if you talk back about the points and stuff, he was always just sort of watching.
Right.
He was just there.
right.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that because Herbie's all in Act 1. He's in there a lot, making it happen, but he's just in the back.
Right.
Staring
Yeah.
at.
No, yeah. Herbie is, he's always there. He's very like a dependable guy. He loves those kids like his own. She's promising to marry him, but it's does she actually have feelings for Herbie, or do you think she's just there to try to keep his paycheck there?
We talked about this a lot,
Yeah.
actually. I think she does. I honestly think that she loves him because when Herbie leaves in Act 2, when Herbie finally stands up to her and leaves, that scene is really heartbreaking because she says, Herbie, why does everyone leave me? And I think Herbie is just another male figure in her life that leaves. Her dad gives up on her. Her husbands give up on her. This would be her third marriage if it was with Herbie. And she always is just so used to just being her and the girls. And then her girl, one of her, her daughter, who she's put all this life into, she leaves, and she doesn't ever see that it's because of her actions that they leave. So she just says, well, why does everyone leave me? And looks at him, and his line back to her is, well, maybe this time Luis won't. And he leaves. Yeah. And I think there's something about that, because then it sets up very interesting versions of how this show has been done. There's versions where at the very end of the show, Luis does kind of turn her back on her mom and leaves her alone in the dark on stage with a slamming door shut. Yeah. And there's other times where, and it's written, and this is the way we did it, where Luis gives her I think it's like a shawl or a mink coat or something, puts it on the mom. The mom says, why do we wear the same size clothing? And she goes, and they just hug. And it like ends that way of like, she's still trying to live her life, and her daughter's just like, all right, you can have a little bit piece of it. Like, it's okay. Yeah. So it's very interesting. You can get either perspective on the show.
Yeah. So how do you approach a role like Herbie? Like someone who is, dependable and there, but he's not the star of the show necessarily.
I think for people who know me, so if I don't say this, like, that's really hard for me, because
to not be the star of the show.
Not even not to be the star, but like I am loud, or I am big, or I don't shrink myself down in a room. I used to. I don't that much at all. And I like that, but I also think for some people that is like, okay, so now you're playing a role where you have to do that. And for me also, shocker, I'm a gay man who's playing.
This is breaking news.
Breaking news right here only. No, I am, and playing a role that's supposed to be in love with Rose. It was about me wanting to figure out first, not even how do I stay in the background, how do I make it authentic that I actually love this woman? And it was really easy with Corey, because the chemistry is there. We have great chemistry. But it was more about when I was looking at it, how do I make her be in love with Rose? Because if you do the show, there are so many times that Michael would have walked out the door by now, but there were so many times that Herbie doesn't. He just takes it, or he just sits there, or he comes back. And so that is what I had to prepare with, was like, you're not Michael in this situation right now getting yelled at, or you're Herbie. And why does Herbie stay? And you have to find those things in the relationship with Rose. But also, I think you mentioned it with the girls. Like, he cares about those girls. So I try to play it that way, of like, I was just there to support them and be there and love them. But I had to find, even in those moments of like real ugliness in the show, why is Herbie not walking out the door right now? And then fixate on that moment in that scene. And, is it because you care about Luis right now, who's sad and in the back? Is it because you care about June, who's begging Herbie to stand up to her mom and tell her that she doesn't want to be in these child acts anymore because she's a grown woman? Or is it, listening to Rose say, go do this, go do that. I want to do all of these things, but, well, you're not helping. Oh, yeah, you are. Going back and forth, and this manipulation that she plays. You just got to find the moments. Yeah.
Do you think, from your perspective, that Herbie believes that Rose can achieve her dreams, and like that's why he stays?
Well, he is the agent, so I think that he believes in them. But I really think it actually comes down to he believes that eventually Rose will settle down and marry. Because when she meets Herbie used to be an agent and stopped and started selling candy to vaudeville houses. And he was just a businessman, and he meets them at a vaudeville house, and she's like, wait a minute, you used to do this and come back. So she pulls him back into the world, and he even says the world is not a place for him. Like, it was too stressful. It was too, you didn't know where you were going. Was moment.
He constant heartburn?
Yeah, he had ulcers.
Ulcers, that's what it was. Yeah.
Right? So, the whole thing. So she drags him back into the world, and he stays even then. Yeah. So yeah, just a lot. It's a lot to think about when you dive into it, and you think like, how deep can a show be? But these are characters based off of real people or have relationships that have happened, and so Herbie's not. It's not the actual real character. His name's not Herbie.
Right.
It's kind of like, I think historians say like a culmination of a couple of people.
Sure.
But these other characters are based off of real people who lived real lives, and so they're written flawed because people are flawed, and I kind of love that.
Absolutely. That's what I think gives it so much staying power too, right? Why it's been revived so many times is that you can go back to it and find something new in there every time. And I love like morally gray characters, right? Like all of the characters in there do like there's not one perfect shining example of totally good or totally bad. Right. There's no clear villains. There's no clear heroes. And that is so interesting because that's what people are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think everybody, even if you are not that overbearing parent, right? I'm not a parent. But the real thing is that I think about, okay, though, if I had a kid or if I have somebody that I love and I wanted to shape them or help them achieve something, would I be so invested that it's like, I'm doing that because I want that too? Right. And you find moments that you can click to these characters because you're like, oh my God, is that a flaw of mine? Like, do I do that now? And you think about it too, on all of those characters, it's that way. Like, how Herbie looks for love in the wrong places. I can definitely associate that. I used to do that too.
Sure.
And maybe look for love in the wrong places. And I think people can find connections to that because they're based on real people or they have real flaws or emotions or feelings.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that's the staying power, is that even if this is not your situation, there's something in this that you can connect to.
Right. There's a dream that you've had that maybe came true, maybe didn't, or you're in a bad situation that you should leave, but you don't. If it's not a relationship, it could be a friendship or a job or whatever, right? Or you're not speaking up for yourself like Louise doesn't until she gets an opportunity, and then she sort of transforms herself into this incredible, powerful figure.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's so many things in there that you can hook into and evaluate as we have been doing
now. I know. And then you jump to a whole different show.
And then 20 years later, little known, almost fired lyricist Stephen Sondheim comes out with Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. So it was 1979, right, Mike? Sondheim had a big 70s period.
We're looking for Mike to correct us.
79. I'm 2 for 2 today.
You're really doing well.
Thank you.
I'm really
I know my Sondheim.
You should host a show, like a podcast. You know that? No.
Sondheim had a big 70s period. It started with Company in 1970, then Follies, A Little Night Music, Pacific Overtures, then Sweeney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
And apparently Sweeney had been like written and rewritten several times, but never to music.
Oh, interesting.
And Sondheim was the one that was like, this needs music.
Yeah.
And not only music, I think 80% of the show is all music. It's all sung.
It's pretty sung. It is based on a play, I believe, which is based on like a urban legend or something. I don't know.
It's not
Sweeney
based
Todd.
in reality. It's not like, there's no historical character, I guess, that you would associate with.
Right.
But people believe that. Like, I actually believed that until I was like, until I did the show and was researching the show, and I'm like, oh, this isn't a real person? I thought this was a real person.
Oh, really?
I really did. I don't know. Maybe my own dream. No, I'm just kidding. I have no dreams of that. Very, very
secret fantasies about Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, I really want to be a barber and make meat pies in my spare time. No, I do not. We can edit that out.
Staying in. Okay, 1979, music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. I believe the book was by Hal Wheeler.
I think so. I think
so.
I think you're right.
I think I'm right. Okay, great.
Hugh
Wheeler, not Hal.
Hal
Prince.
Hal
Hugh
Prince
Wheeler.
was the producer or
probably.
director.
Diana.
Falling apart.
It's okay.
Gonna get my Sondheim card revoked.
Oh no! Don't do that.
I know.
You need that card. You will be shunned from all the major events.
I know.
In theater.
I
if
won't
you don't
be able to. I share a birthday with Stephen Sondheim.
Do you really?
So I do.
So
March
does Andrew
22nd.
Lloyd Webber.
I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
Sweeney Todd is about a man named Sweeney Todd. Well, he takes this name. His real name is Benjamin Barker.
Yes.
And the play starts with he is getting off the boat from Australia, where the prisoners were kept back in the day, and he is returning to London, and he is joined by a young sailor named Anthony Hope, who has the most literal name in the musical theater canon, perhaps, and they are the dichotomy. Anthony's like, there's no place like London. He's so excited to be there, and Sweeney Todd says, no, the world is full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, he says.
Literally, people suck.
Yeah. So he takes this new name, Sweeney Todd, and he goes to Mrs. Lovett's pie shop, and he takes the apartment upstairs, basically, and opens a barber shop. And this is where he used to live, I'm pretty sure. So he returns to his old digs.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you learn that he's coming back because his wife was stolen from him, and believed to have died. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
She didn't die yet.
As far as he knows at this act,
But
she's dead.
Right. Yeah. He believes that. And so he's coming back with this grand scheme of vengeance of how do I come back and get the right from the wrong that was done to me.
Yeah.
And so he uses the barbershop to enact his revenge.
Yes.
And through that, the lovely relationship, and this is where I have to wonder where people's minds are when they think about this. Okay, I need to kill people and do something with their bodies. Let's put them in meat pies when, there's a pie shop right below it. And somehow it works.
Yeah. And it's so funny because Miss Lovett is known for her horrible meat pies. She has no customers.
Nope.
She's thinking about putting cats into pies because someone down the street has had success, in her words, popping pussies into pies.
Love that lyric.
Love that line.
Love that line. Some of the best Stephen Sondheim lines in the world come from this show.
So good, especially in the number where they decide to put people into pies called A Little Priest, which is just 6 minutes of cannibalism puns.
And it's so funny,
so
but
good.
The first time I ever saw the show, I was like, should I be laughing at this? But I absolutely laughed.
Oh, so it's outrageous.
It shows the genius of being able to take really dark content and make it something that people watch and be like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
For 5 seconds. And then you're like, wow, something's wrong with me. But yeah.
Yeah. So she has these reputation for these terrible pies. And once they make the decision because Sweeney only wants to he has it out for one man. He has it out for Judge Turpin, who is the man who both assaulted his wife and sent him to jail.
Yep.
The doubleheader. But just other people keep showing up, and there's no other choice but to kill them too. So these bodies are stacking up in the basement, and then they come up with the idea to put them into pies. And then her business takes off after that.
Thrives.
That was the missing ingredient the whole time.
Just a little bit of priest. A little bit of priest. Absolutely.
Which is so fun. How did that word get out? Did she have a marketing plan about this?
Now I'm going to put my day job on. I really want to see the metrics on this. What spiked? What was the customer satisfaction?
New recipe?
What do they think? Maybe because it could be that Toby started working there. So maybe it was that she finally had help.
Yes.
And he was just so charming. And a little plug there. I know that they're doing this at Fort Salem.
They are. Yes, I wanted to shout them out. Yeah.
And Charlie Palmer, who was in Falsettos with me, he played my stepson. He is in the show.
That's right.
And I said that I would call him out because I really do adore Charlie. Such a good kid.
He was so good in Falsettos. We love the Palmers.
Talented.
I worked with Natalia on Mean Girls.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, they are a very busy theater family.
They are, but they're also so nice.
Yes.
And so talented. And I hate them. Just kidding. I do not.
They're
so great.
Yes, friends. A lot of friends of Slock are in that Fort Salem production.
Yes.
It's being helmed by James Alexander and Molly Waters, who are also starring. Jess Fitzsitzky is a music director. I could go on and on. It's everybody.
So many great people.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. Yeah.
And when I did it, I had so many great people in our show too. When we did it, I did it at Slock.
Oh, okay.
So I was in that show, and it's like what happens. It's the epitome of like musical theater for men. I didn't audition. Wasn't playing. I got asked to be in the show because they were like, hey, we need more guys in the ensemble. Do you want to join the show? And I ended up playing Mr. Fogg, who is the one who locks up
the asylum.
Asylum.
Yes.
Yep. And so, so I ended up doing that show. And great cast. Molly was Mrs. Lovett, and Mike was Sweeney, and just a great cast in show, but also some of the hardest music in the world to sing.
Yeah, this is a pretty notorious show. I remember when I lived in North Dakota, there were a couple of productions of Sweeney actually, and I was talking with someone who's doing it. He's like, I mentioned I was a Sondheim fan. He's like, oh, Sondheim hates singers. And I was like, okay, disagree. I think this music is hard, but
yeah, no, I hear that. Oh, like Sondheim hates singers.
Yeah.
No, I think he hates breathing. Because if you ever do a Sondheim show, like you're like, where do I breathe? And it's that meme of like, you don't.
No.
Like you don't. No breathing. But no, I think he loves singers. But I think actually more. And I think this is something that I've heard several times from people. I never had the experience of working with him, obviously. But people who have and have done interviews about him is that he actually loves acting. He loves characters and figuring out the character and emoting that through song.
Yes.
And so he doesn't necessarily always work with the best singers or the most classical singers, but he always works with those that are performers. Actors, people who understand the lyrics and the melody and what he's putting into the work.
Yeah.
And I think that is very true to why his work is so popular.
Yeah.
Is because he makes it goes back to our point before, like, in Gypsy, where you find connections to this. All of his stories, all of his shows from, Follies to Little Night Music to Into the Woods. Some of these stories are outlandish or big, but you can connect to at least one or all of the characters somehow.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. In Sweeney too, right? You have the main story of, we're going to kill people and put them into pies. Ridiculous. But like, who among us hasn't had a love that isn't returned or wanted revenge on somebody, whether you act on it or not, right? What's that line at the end about the road to revenge will lead to hell, but everyone doesn't and seldom as well?
Yes.
Great line.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's
such a great line.
Yeah. Or like in Toby's role, how he just desperately wants to find somewhere to fit in, right?
Just wants like a family.
I know.
And I think that's why he does the things he does as well. And I think one of the best endings to musical theater is Sweeney. I think that it shows that, yes, you can act on your road to revenge, but if you do, look at what could happen. Yeah. And I think it is a tale of that while doing it in a very absurd way. Of like, these things seem really like outlandish and that it wouldn't happen, but like, okay, but think about like the themes of revenge that are there. A lover taken from you, love not returned, wanting to find a home and you do whatever you can to fit into that home. Like all of those things. And then look at the ending of it. And all of them don't get what they want. Yeah. Because they follow the path of revenge, or they follow the wrong path to get there. Yeah. And I think it's very interesting when you think about it that way. Yeah. No, it's so good. And I also love that Sweeney balances this sort of like horror, dark, foggy London vibe, but it's also so funny. It is. And it's dark humor at its like core. And it has to be. Otherwise, again, like I think we talked about this in the very beginning. Look at our full circle moment. Love that. But no, like the world is already so sad sometimes to look at. And you got to find the humor in things, even when it looks pretty dark or foggy. Yeah. And Sondheim did that so well with the lyrics and the book that's written, I think. But I really think it's in the lyrics that the comedy comes out. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's baked right in there. It is so funny of you. We didn't talk about this with Gypsy, but if someone wanted to get into Gypsy, if they've never heard of it, but our compelling argument or conversation has made them want to do it, what do you think is the best access point? So I think you go to Broadway right now and see it on Broadway. And you're going to see a little bit of a different version, but you're still going to see everything we talked about. Yep. Maybe even a little bit more. And you're going to see a triumphant performance.
Yes.
Anybody who takes on that role, hands down, just, well, there's a reason why most people who play that role are nominated or win a Tony.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, yeah. You got Audra, but the supporting cast is great too. You got Danny Burstein as Herbie, who I love. He's like Broadway's dad.
I adore him.
Yeah.
I think he's great in everything he does.
Yeah, the girls are Joy Woods and Jordan Tyson, I think. They're both in The Notebook. So the two of the girls in The Notebook are in there too. So yeah, great cast all around. And there are also, because it's been around forever, there's so many cast recordings.
So many.
There's a couple of movies.
There's also some things like pro shots, I think.
Pro shot with Imelda.
Imelda's
for sure.
pro shot, and that's actually what we referenced a lot in our version
sure.
of Gypsy. Corey said she watched that a lot to just see how she did it, because she's like, she comes from the acting perspective.
Absolutely.
If you look at Imelda, everything she does, she full on does it like diving into a character and less so on the vocals, and it's amazing. She was in Dolly. She played Hello Dolly.
Yep.
She did the same thing there. So yeah.
And that's like a very, I want to say, like classically staged production too. So if you want base level, that's a really good place to start.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah. And Sweeney is pretty much all of the same things. It's so many cast albums. There is a movie. My feelings about Johnny Depp have already been stated on this podcast. But the thing that bothers me most about the Sweeney Todd movie is that it's Tim Burton and all of the blood is CGI. And it looks terrible.
Really so funny, because yes, you would think if anybody was going to double down on the gore, that it would have been Tim Burton.
Right.
So I have a little bit of a different take on this, is that problematic on characters, whatever. We can talk about movie musicals and how they're always miscast so many times another time. But what I will say about that show, why I liked it, was it actually took it in a time where musical theater was kind of hitting like a boom back, and they were like, we're going to do Sweeney Todd. And like people are like, Sweeney what? And then it was like, because Tim Burton was doing it, everybody was like, oh, Tim Burton movie. We're gonna go see Sweeney. And I think that's why people saw it, was because of that. So I get where movie musicals, you're like, that's not the casting I would do, but it opens it up to people who maybe have never seen it, and now they're like, oh, and then they go down this like. And I say that because that sort of was like a little bit of an introduction for Sweeney and me too, of like watching the movie. And then I was like going back and watching like Angela Lansbury play the role and watching, and then just seeing all of these things. And she won a Tony for that as well. And seeing all of it, so it opens it up.
Yes.
So yes, you could see the movie, and then hopefully it opens your eyes. You're like, okay, I want to see more of this.
Yes. If you like this, there's more to see.
Right.
We talk about that a lot too. I always talk about, no matter what movie musical it is, I will always go see it. It's tried in the theater. I want to support with my dollar. I want there to be more of this.
Absolutely.
Whether I think it's actually good or not. It's like, because I've talked about this before. We don't live in an era where, like in the 30s, 40s, 50s, they were just making movie musicals because it was just like a comedy, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the things. And now there are so few original, let alone movie musicals, period.
And there's so much good content out there. When you think about like all the musicals that have been done, like you're like, this would be a great movie.
Right.
Make more of them. And I hope after the major success that Wicked had, I'm hoping that people are going to start taking it on again. Because it was always that they could get like good reviews or critical success or some awards here or there. But I think with the box office win that Wicked had, it's now like time for people to be reminded that if you do a really good job doing a movie musical, it can also be a very lucrative thing.
Yeah, hopefully, that is the message to the studios, to give musicals this budget and to cast people that can sing. Wicked is a great example of casting two people who are names, both of whom can carry these songs by themselves.
Oh my God, the way that they can carry songs, And I mean, I've always been a fan of Cynthia Erivo from like day one when I saw her in The Color Purple and cried, like sitting not that far back in the theaters, just sobbing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this woman is like, oh my God, a force on stage. And she brings that to the screen, which is super cool to see, because not everybody can do that.
Yes, stage and film acting are so different, right? One you have to play to the back of the house, and another you got the camera right here, and it's all so nuanced. So yes, more of this. More movies, more accessible theater, all of it.
Yeah, you've heard it here first. Right here.
What a statement.
What a statement. Do it.
Controversial. More theater all the time.
More theater all the time. Should just be everything. As we sit in a theater.
As we sit in the theater.
As we sit in the theater, recording this. More theater all the time. We agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how people, I think accessibility to theater needs to be our prime focus.
Absolutely.
I really think that that's it, because I will say, now I'm saying more theater all the time, but I will say everything is getting so expensive, and it's so expensive to do things. And so the ticket prices are going up, but there's only so high ticket prices can go before people will stop supporting or not being able to support with their dollar.
Yep.
And so accessibility to the theater needs to be our focus right now for people, because I am concerned, even at the high school level, we're doing Addams Family again, shameless plug for Addams Family coming up. But when you're doing Addams Family, it costs so much money to do these shows. And then their friends and family come and they support with their dollar to buy a ticket, but it barely covers all the cost it was to even do the show.
Right.
And then every year it's getting more expensive. Eventually you're going to run out of money. And, arts are not getting as funded as they maybe were in the past or we ramped up to, because everyone has budget issues with the cost of everything. So I am really, really afraid of the accessibility of theater going away. And that's why I'm really thankful for like the pro shots. I'm really thankful for, the things that show up that people can watch or get a subscription for that's a little bit more accessible to see it. I know a lot of people had a lot of gripe when Hamilton went to Disney Plus, but like the fact that they brought Hamilton to more people who couldn't afford to get a ticket or even get a ticket to see that show, and it's now like, I think my sister's seen it maybe 20 times on there, and then she finally got to see it on Broadway. Yeah. But she was like, before that I saw it on Disney Plus every night, so it opens it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I always try to remind people that there is, especially in our region, we're so lucky to have so much community and low-cost theater. You can almost always volunteer at those theaters and see something for free. Even here, you can become an usher and see a show for free. Do subscribe if you have the funds too. Please. I just renewed my slot subscription today.
Thank you.
It's very affordable. It's $140 for 5 shows. That's $28 a show.
Seriously, and they're great shows. Yeah. I mean, we have wonderful people who are in the shows, but also wonderful people who work on the shows. Yep. And I'm always proud of a Slock show because I know how much work goes into it, but I always think that the quality of the show is great. Yep. And that is a testament to the amount of talented people we have in this area.
Absolutely. And subscribing really helps the theater too, because it sort of front loads this money into the season so that you can have an advertising budget, so you can sell single tickets. Not that single tickets don't help too, of course, all everything the dollars help, but subscribing really helps.
Subscribing helps. Being a donor really helps. I know that that's sometimes hard for people, or people don't think if they don't have like a $500 check, they can't be a donor.
No, $25
but like
helps. Yeah.
Anything helps. And it really, really does go back to the show itself and supporting theater. So yeah. And if you don't want to come see a show at Slock, go see a show at one of the other many theaters that are out there that all support each other.
There are so many.
There are so many great theaters out there. And, I think people hopefully will keep coming back to the theater because we need it too.
Yep. It feels good to be in a room full of people experiencing the same thing, and just there's nothing like him.
There isn't. Yeah. There isn't. I mean, I just went and saw Peter and the Starcatcher at
Wonderful.
Slock,
yeah.
And laughing for, 2 hours with a bunch of other people who were laughing.
Yep.
It is nothing like that in the world. That feeling, it's great.
Yep. I want to give David Quinones a regional Tony for that performance.
So wonderful.
Oh my God.
He's so wonderful.
Born to play that role.
He really was so good in that. Yeah. There's just, I think, honestly, regional Tonys make a lot of sense for me because every time I go and see productions, I'm like, this person is like has a day job. Yeah. They do their job and they come here and learn this on their, spare time or whatever. And they do these performances after doing their life and have family and everything going on. And this is not their permanent job. And they are amazing. And it's a prime example. He was so wonderful in that show. But every time I go and see a show, I'm like, there's so many standouts. Absolutely. It's so great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It was lovely to talk to you.
It was so great to talk to you, and I'm really, really happy you do this.
Thank you
for having me.
Yay.
Two Show Day is hosted by Diana Shabai Booker. It is produced by Diana and Collaborative Studios. It is produced and edited by me, Michael McCord, and recorded at Open Stage Media Studios. It is distributed by Collaborative Studios. Two Show Day is independently owned by Diana. Any opinions expressed herein are not necessarily the opinions of Open Stage Media, Collaborative Studios, Proctor's Collaborative, or any of its affiliates or partners. Want to contact Two Show Day? Find all our social media at linktr.ee/2showday or send an email to twoshowdaypodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to become a part of the Collaborative Studios network, please contact us at collaborativestudios@proctors.org.